Okay. Full screen. Okay. All right. Sorry. You're going to have to bear with me. My daughter's on a Zoom meeting right now, too. So we're using all the computers right now. Okay. All right. And I realize that it's pretty bad if you're late to your own Zoom meeting, but just hang in there with me. Okay. All right. Let's see. I feel like, okay. So one thing, I know there was, I want to say it was yesterday, and then today we sent out an email about grades, which I think there's still a lot of confusion out there about stuff because we have report cards that he's printing out. If he hasn't done it already, he's going to print them out tomorrow, and I think they go out officially on Friday for T6. And the T6 is you're only going to get as good or better grade than what you had in T4, but it's not supposed to hurt people that did worse because of whether it was internet issues or whatever the problems were. And then the email and message that went out yesterday is in reference to T6. And T6 is when it goes to you guys to make the decision of whether you want to work to earn a letter grade or if you want to take the P for passing. And it just showed that you took the class and you passed it, but you don't get any actual credit towards your GPA for it. So, and I think there was some confusion about the whole grading thing. So anyway, so T5 report cards are supposed to be going out this week. And I went and brought y'all's grades up the other day and was making sure that I did go back in and, I pulled up your email and I went in and put in the extra credit where you wanted it to be put. So I think that looks good, and they want us to comment on everybody. And of course, I just commented that you guys were being rock stars, taking care of your business, and that you were good. So, okay, all right. So we, again, don't have any section questions. So let's do the review sheet, Kennedy and the Cold War, and then we'll go to section 24-2 in your packet next. Okay. All right, Kennedy and the Cold War, where we left off yesterday, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did 1 through 8. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let's start with number 9, and so let's see. We'll probably do, we'll go ahead and do 9 through 18 and stop there, even though that kind of gets into a little bit of conspiracy theory, because the only one that I talked about today in the note video was the landing on the moon, and I'm kind of saving Kennedy's assassination conspiracy theories for tomorrow. So, all right, number 9 says, after the Cuban crisis, what type of nuclear testing was banned by the US and the Soviet Union? And that was above ground. Above ground testing is going to be banned. But after all this is said and done, they're going to say above ground, in the ocean, I forget whatever else. It's basically, unless you can go somewhere in outer space and blow something up around here. All right, number 10 says, and then again, this is the Kennedy's inaugural speech, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. What you can do for your country. So asking citizens to step up. All right, number 11 says, name the first lady who became a social icon during the early 60s, and that is Jackie Kennedy. She was such a big fashion icon. So Jackie Kennedy for number 11. Everybody thought she was the bomb. Number 12 says, name the legislative program or platform that Kennedy proposed, and that was kind of today's whole lesson, was New Frontier. So New Frontier, which included his creation of the Peace Corps, Alliance for Progress, You know, the challenge to NASA, all the things. Let's see. 13, which Kennedy program asked for volunteers to commit to several years worth of service in poor nations? And that is the Peace Corps. That was definitely one of his babies. He was super excited about that program. It's still available. We still use it and send people out today. So that is Peace Corps. 14, what nearly impossible goal did Kennedy challenge the nation to accomplish before the end of the 60s? We kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday. Landing on the moon, putting a man on the moon. Putting a man on the moon. He wanted us to be able to beat the Soviet Union in something. All right, and then 15 and the next couple of questions get us into the whole assassination conspiracy theories. All right, let's see. 15, in what year was President Kennedy assassinated? And I'll go ahead and put month and year because I do want you to know both. So put November 1963. November 1963. And so this is a really kind of pivotal moment because 64 is going to be an election year. So this is right before JFK starts ramping up his campaign for re-election because he did want to be re-elected. And so that's why so many people say that one of the conspiracy theories to consider is that his vice president, LBJ, was in on it because he, and again, this is just a theory. The theory was that he didn't think he could become president any other way. Again, I'm not putting any truth to that, but that's what's out there. Okay. All right. Let's see. Last couple questions before we stop. 16, who became president upon his death? And it's fine to put LBJ. He does go by his initials. That's what everybody knows him as. So it's Lyndon Baines Johnson, but he goes by LBJ. And the joke is that his whole family goes by LBJ. His wife, Lady Bird Johnson. Both of his daughters, LBJ initials. One of them's Linda, and one of them, I don't remember what the other one is. And fun fact, he had 2 beagles, and one of the beagles was initials LBJ. And one of them, it had to be the girl because the girl was Lady. No, I take that back. They did have beagles, but they also had other dogs, and one of the other dogs was his and her. Like that was their name, his and her. I don't know. All right, next, let's see. 17, who was the accused assassin? Lee Harvey Oswald. Lee Harvey Oswald. And there's other conspiracy theories that even talk about the fact that he goes by all 3 names. A lot of people will take it back to the Lincoln assassination and say there were similarities in the Lincoln assassination and the Kennedy assassination. That John Wilkes Booth went by all 3 names. Lee Harvey Oswald goes by all 3 names. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff behind that. But anyway, 18, who shot and killed the accused assassin? So here's why so many puzzle pieces are missing. Because while they were holding Oswald in a Dallas police station jail, he gets shot and killed by Jack Ruby. So Jack Ruby's the answer. So Jack Ruby for number 18. And 19, let's go ahead and answer it. 19 is, again, getting to all the conspiracy theories. This term refers to the second shot of the assassin, which had to account for multiple wounds on the president and governor of Texas. I'm probably going to go ahead and post this video today if you get a chance to watch the YouTube video on how we can use computer, what is it called? I can't think. Computer forensics, maybe is what they call it, where they analyze the video. But they can use that to pinpoint where and when the bullet hit, because the second bullet, like one got him in the back of the head. The other one went through the back of his neck, out the front of his neck, and hit the governor, and that's the one this is talking about, and it's known as the magic bullet. Magic bullet for number 19. And they call it the magic bullet theory, in that some people say, some critics say, that one bullet could not have done that damage to both the president and the governor sitting in front of the president. But watch the video. You got to watch the video. It'll change your perspective. Okay. All right. In your packets, 24-2, just follow along and we'll do this one together. All right, section 1 says containing communism. How did Kennedy attempt to stop the spread of communism? And that's kind of the reason why he creates, you're going to put two things: Peace Corps and Alliance for Progress. That's really the reason these two were made. That's kind of his secret weapon. We're not calling the Peace Corps a weapon against communism, but essentially that's kind of what we're hoping to do. So Peace Corps and Alliance for Progress. All right. B says, where did Kennedy want to renew diplomatic focus? Again, this goes back to the idea of the Alliance for Progress, but we want to focus on Latin America. We consider Latin America to be, next door neighbors in our, quote, hemisphere. So Latin America is where we're going to push a lot of time and money and resources. So Latin America for B. All right, what was the Peace Corps? All right, so let's see if we can summarize this as best as possible. Let's just say, providing services to underdeveloped countries. Providing services to underdeveloped countries. And I about said young people because the majority of them are college-age students, but not all of them. Some of them are certified doctors, nurses, etc. Because we're taking over vaccinations, we're taking over medicine, we're taking things that they don't have in a lot of these countries. Okay, that's good enough for that one. All right, D says, how did Kennedy respond to Soviet successes in space in 1961? That's when he issued NASA the challenge. That's what I want you to put. Issued NASA the challenge. And we know what the challenge is talking about or referencing. But issued NASA the challenge. And of course, the big one is we've got to go bigger, we've got to go better, we've got to go way above and beyond what the Soviet Union has done. All right, section 2, cries of the Cold War. A said, where did the first crisis of Kennedy's administration occur? And this is the big one we've been talking about yesterday and today. What should your answer be? What country? What is it? Yeah, Cuba. Yep, absolutely. So Cuba for A. That's where we're going to spend a lot of time and energy. All right, B says, what had President Eisenhower feared about Cuba? And I know we didn't really talk about it a whole lot when Eisenhower was in office, but if you remember the dates, like everything started changing in Cuba at the end of the 1950s, so the last couple of years of the Eisenhower administration. Hold on, I lost my place. All right, so let's just summarize it and say this, that Cuba would fall to communism, which they did, but that was a concern he had. That Cuba could fall to communism. You know, I mean, they're our next door neighbor. They're only 90 miles away from Florida. We had heard rumblings of different groups because they were just not happy about how things were going. All right, next, C, what did Eisenhower do as a result of his fear? And this is all leading up to the Bay of Pigs incident. And I apologize because some of this stuff kind of jumps back and forth between the Eisenhower administration and the Kennedy administration. But they're talking about the Bay of Pigs incident. They're talking about arming Cuban rebels. So that's what I want you to put for C, arming Cuban rebels. And it's the CIA that does this as like a secret mission. But arming Cuban rebels, which we already know that that mission is going to blow up in our face. And that leads to D. D says, what was the purpose of this mission? For the Cubans to be able to overthrow Castro. So the whole point of it, again, was the Cubans to overthrow Castro and for it to be the citizens that did it and not visually the U.S. Like, we weren't physically there. Now, word gets out pretty fast that we gave them supplies, that we helped train them, that, you know, we were doing all these things for them, but we weren't physically there, but it doesn't really matter. It all gets out anyway. E says, what was the result of the Bay of Pigs action? So it's two things. All right. First thing you're going to put is U.S. is embarrassed, because it is. It is a nationwide embarrassment, or worldwide, sorry. So first of all, put U.S. is embarrassed. And secondly, the other thing I want you to put in is you can either call them the Soviet Union, USSR, doesn't really matter, but USSR steps in. USSR steps in, and they're essentially going to take Cuba under their wing, and they're going to become besties, which is a nightmare situation for us. But USSR steps in and befriends, I guess you could say, befriends Cuba. All right, F says, how was the Cuban Missile Crisis resolved? So this was a super intense situation, if you can imagine. It's lasting 13 days, and I always visualize it in my mind as a big game of chicken, you know? It's essentially what superpower country is going to back down first. And what saves us in the end is that we can pull our cards out of our pocket every time and be like, hey, guess what? Number one, we've done it before, right? We've done it before. You know, we not only have proof we have the technology, we've done it before. You've seen the devastation, and we're going to use that to our advantage every single time. So in the end, Khrushchev, who is the new leader of the Soviet Union, Khrushchev backs down. So that is our answer for F. Nikita Khrushchev. So Khrushchev backs down, and a nuclear war has been avoided. So Khrushchev backs down. As soon as he does that, the Soviet Union removes their missiles from Cuba. And then if you've already looked in your notes, you know that we remove our missiles from Turkey because we were ready. Okay. All right, section 3, death of the president. A says, where and when was President Kennedy assassinated? So we know the when. We did that one already. That's November of 63. So November 1963, and it is Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas. And this was a big deal. One of the reasons why he was there in a parade, because Texas is the home state of Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ. And again, that's why conspiracy theorists love this idea, because it's in LBJ's hometown. Anyway, I won't get into it today, but it's a thing. Okay. B says, who assassinated President Kennedy according to the Warren Commission, which I didn't really finish talking about in your notes, but the Warren Commission is I shouldn't say secret, but it is the investigation into finding out, did Oswald actually do it? Are there other people, etc.? So according to the Warren Commission, Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone assassin. Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone assassin. And last but not least, C says, what did Kennedy's successor, Lyndon Johnson, set out to do upon becoming president? And again, I don't remember from the video from today if I talked about it yet or if I'm saving it for tomorrow. I don't remember. But he passes civil rights acts in Kennedy's honor. That's kind of one of the first things that he does. So passes civil rights acts in Kennedy's honor. Okay. All right, let's see. That is it for section 2. And you don't have to do it today, even though the story about the Cuban Missile Crisis and the questions about what do you call it? I guess conversations, the typed conversations that are happening with Kennedy in the White House, and then also press releases of what's happening with Khrushchev. So that kind of goes along with what we talked about today. It's up to you as to whether or not you want to do that now or not. But that is it. We're going to stop there. I did go ahead and post, it wasn't that long ago because I've been bouncing back and forth between different stuff, but I did go ahead and post a short YouTube clip video of Mythbusters talking about the moon landing. There is a whole entire, I think it's like an hour-long episode, but I wasn't sure if I shared it in the Google Classroom through the Discovery Channel, if you'd be able to get to it or not. I think it has it all in pieces on YouTube. Still interesting, even if you watch just the 4-minute clip. I still think it's pretty interesting. But that's it. That's all I got for you for today. Unless you have questions, comments, concerns.
I'm good.
Okay, all right. Good deal. Let's call it a day, and we'll get at it tomorrow.
All right, sounds good.
Y'all have a good one.
Bye.